After a season-saving victory against Seattle last week, the Redskins are poised to take on a red-hot Minnesota Vikings team. No rest from here on out. Let's get into it. It's the Hogsty.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so happy to be with you here as always. It's your boy Sean and the whole crew's here, Alex and Steve. How you guys doing?
I'm all right.
Oh, and Jamal as on the phone. I'm sorry, I didn't forget him. I just forgot how.
Yeah, credit to Jamal for calling in. You know,
yeah.
that's always. Steve, you've done it once. I've never done it because no one would answer.
Well, when at the time I did it, we didn't tell anybody. We just did it, and so I don't know if anyone ever even knew.
I'm sure the listeners could tell. You can tell when someone's on the phone. When you're
probably. But that was an interview show, and I don't know if the interview subject really knew how bad a logistical situation we had that night. But anyway, to answer your question.
By the way, Steve, quick happy Veterans Day to you, since that's coming up.
Oh, nice call. Absolutely. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we got to talk about, obviously, this next matchup coming up this week on Sunday. But before we do that, we figured we'd maybe take a little look back at the season so far and also look to the future, how this playoff situation is playing out. How are we feeling at this point in the season, guys, and how are our chances looking?
Well, let's do it like this. Redskins obviously are 4-4. We all know that. Mm-hmm. So from a playoffs perspective, the division leaders, Philadelphia obviously has got a 3-game lead over us. You know, I think it's out of reach, realistically.
Right. I think everyone here agrees.
Yeah, Minnesota, the Saints, and the Rams are leading the other divisions in the NFC. And then we have two 5-3 teams, Dallas and Seattle, which right now are in the 2 wild card positions. Mm-hmm. And then the 4-4 teams, which Redskins are 1, include Green Bay, Detroit, Atlanta, and Arizona. Now, in the next 8 weeks, all that stuff's going to shake out, however it shakes out. So what I thought I'd, ask you guys when I was thinking about this is, I think to have a chance at the playoffs, we need a 9-7 record at a minimum, right? How do we get there? Mm-hmm. Well, we're starting the third quarter of the season. So let's just read out who we're playing and see what you guys think. The third quarter consists of the Vikings, which is this week, the Saints, the Giants, the Cowboys. That's the third quarter of the season. And then the fourth quarter is Chargers, Cardinals, Broncos, Giants.
Right.
So we have to come up with 5 wins.
You can get there. You can get there.
Minimum. Mm-hmm. That's what I think too. What do you guys think? We have to come up with 5 wins in there somehow, some way to have a shot at it.
Well, should we run through them one by one? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do the third quarter.
Let's not do one by one. That takes forever. But just
let's do third quarter. Like third quarter.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Vikings, Saints, Giants, Cowboys.
I think that is, at best case, you've got to find 2-2 in that.
Yeah.
That's the tougher of the 2 quarters. Giants will be a win, right? I mean, I don't know. Anyone
that's
think
2 of the
Giants
ones that I'm calling. Yeah. No.
And we got to find a win somehow in those other 3 games because those are tough games.
Yeah. Preferably the Cowboys, since we've already, they're going to have a tiebreaker over us if we lose to them twice.
Right.
So ideally the Cowboys and the Giants. But I agree. I think we need to go 2-2 and then 3-1 in the fourth quarter. That's kind of the path to victory.
I was just going to say that because if you want to say 2-2 in the third quarter, you have to go 3-1 or 4-0 in the last quarter, and those 2 wins have to come against the NFC East because you cannot go 2-4 or 1-5 in your own division and expect to make the playoffs. 0-3 is already a terrible hole to get into, but with the way the Giants are playing now. You have a chance to sweep the Giants, but at the same time, you have a chance to split with the Cowboys as well. But it's very important that you have to go 3-3 in your division because if it comes down to the Cowboys and Redskins for a wild card spot, and you somehow finish 2-4 and 1-5 in the division, guess who's getting that spot over you? Especially if you finish with the same record.
Yeah.
And not the Redskins. So you have to go. If you're going to go 2-2 now, you have to beat the Giants and the Cowboys. And you have to go 3-1 or 4-0 in your last quarter of the season.
One thing I'll point out, and I'm sure you guys probably saw this on Twitter too, because this made the rounds a lot a couple days ago. The Redskins have already played the toughest schedule of any NFL team in terms of opponents' wins and losses of any team there is. Like, if you add up their wins and losses, it's something like 47 wins already against the first 8 teams. The second half altogether looks much easier when you think of the gauntlet we've already run, and we came out 4-4 against a very hard schedule. So you got to feel a little good about that. But I don't know how good.
Well, first of all, I think the stat you're talking about came from Pro Football Reference, and it was their SRS stat over which somehow measures the wins of the teams you faced, and then the points that are scored, the point differential, and it combines it together. I think that was the stat that we came out ahead on.
They're adding points differential. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. They have a formula, and they have a stat that's called SRS, and that's where I believe that came from. From my perspective, I think you're right, Alex. It's a much easier road, particularly in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Chargers, Cardinals, Broncos, Giants. None of those teams are very good this year.
You could easily sweep all 4 of those teams if you.
And not only that, but
football.
But I think the best one's probably the Broncos, and that Broncos game is at home, meaning in Washington. So, I think and God help us if we lose to the Giants even once, we don't deserve to make the playoffs. So, I mean, I'm just counting on that to be 2 wins there, and you get at least, give us 1 loss in the fourth quarter. Between the Chargers, Cardinals, and Broncos, we lay an egg one time. And so we've got the Giants. So really and truly, you need to beat the Cowboys, and you need to beat one of either the Vikings or the Saints. And I think that would probably get us there, because if we do all that, we'd be 10-6.
Yeah, and that sounds like a great season to me.
Right.
Well, and I think personally, if we're being realistic, I hate to kill the optimism, but in order for us to truly make the playoffs, we're going to have to find a way to beat New Orleans, Minnesota, Dallas, and to the Giants. Like, that's just going to have to happen, because these immediate weeks coming up are playoff potential teams. Mm-hmm. And the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints and Dallas Cowboys are coming up soon as well. That's just something we're going to have to do. We can say, technically you don't have to, but if you want to control your own destiny, you cannot lose to those teams and then beat the Broncos, Chargers, and Cardinals, and then have to hope that the Vikings and the Saints and the Cowboys all lose out. We really do have to beat these teams that are competing with the wild card spots for us.
Sure, that's a good point. These are all going to be tiebreaker games potentially.
Yeah, and some of these teams are going to fall by the wayside. I mean, we're not going to get to the end of the season and have 8 or 9 teams in the last couple of weeks, still be competitive record-wise. It's, for the Redskins, what they don't want to do is they don't want to start off playing from behind. Mm-hmm. Record-wise, I'm talking about. And so you don't want to lose the first 3 games and then have to sweep the rest of them. And so, I mean, you want to beat the NFC teams, and you want to close strong, and the way to do that is go 3-1 and 3-1. Yeah. Or in the worst case scenario, 2-2 and 3-1. So that's my thought, kind of big picture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what more I could add to that hasn't already been said. I know kind of what we have in store for the Vikings, and we're going to obviously talk about that next. Can anybody give me the quick 4-1 on the Saints?
They're good.
Well,
I mean, that's the 4-1 run, right?
They're just flat out.
Thank you for the insight.
Well,
fair enough.
Here's what I've kind of seen. Just because I haven't really focused on them yet. I don't.
The team I haven't followed this year.
Yeah, I don't follow a team or go back and look at them until we're playing them. Just like an NFL team really does. They don't really pay attention until it's that week. But from what I'm seeing and hearing, this is not the Drew Brees air it out 500 passes a game Saints anymore. They're playing with a lot more balance, is what I'm reading. Like, they got rid of Peterson, and then ran it more.
Well, I mean, I can give you a little bit of insight because, like you, I haven't done any preparation for the Saints yet. But I mean, they've won 6 in a row.
Yeah.
They started the season 0-2, and they won 6 in a row. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Rodgers-less Packers. The Buccaneers, the Dolphins.
Not exactly a gauntlet of teams.
No, it's not. It's not. So, I mean, they're beatable. It's still Drew Brees. We'll worry about him when we get there.
Yeah. It just sounds like I think the opportunities are going to be there this week to beat the Vikings. They're obviously red hot right now, like I said at the beginning, so we'll talk about that next. I think there's an opportunity there, but gosh, it would be so nice to take these first two, take some of the pressure off that third game against the Giants, which seems more like a given. That would put us in great position.
I don't know if it is a given. I just think it has to be a given.
It's just more of a given.
If you want to,
nothing's a given.
If you want a winning season, it's a given. You have to.
Yeah, you're right. You can't give one away to the Giants.
Yeah. All right, well, if you guys are ready, we can turn our attention to next week. Anything else you guys want to say about this treacherous?
Well,
it sounds like this is a very uphill journey, no matter what. Even if we play well, we kind of need some luck, too.
I know we kind of talked about this on the last show, but Jamal wasn't there. Jamal, who was your first half MVP of the season?
Putting him on the spot.
On both sides of the ball, or just one person overall?
You can give us both. If that's it, it probably makes.
I think we did both. Didn't we do both? I can't remember.
All right. Well, defense, I'm going to go with Zach Brown.
All right.
But I would say Zach Brown in a tie with I guess. Well, DJ Swerger hasn't made a bunch of load of plays. He's just been a difference maker in terms of a leader. So I go with Zach Brown overall. He's been the most flashiest player on the field, and he's been making a lot of plays.
Mm-hmm.
In the pass, I should say more so in the run game. Pass, he has a lot of pursuit, so he does disrupt a lot of plays in the pass game. But I wouldn't say coverage-wise he's been best. Offensively, got to go with the person who's been consistent, and that is Chris Thompson. Kirk Cousins has done a good job in terms of keeping the boat afloat. I can't say he's been outstanding. He hasn't been outstanding. There is some flaws to his game, of course, but Chris Thompson, it's between Chris Thompson and Kirk Cousins, but Chris Thompson is my MVP on offense just for the fact that he has been the playmaker for this team. And I would actually put Vernon Davis up there, but it will be Chris Thompson, Kirk Cousins, then Vernon Davis. But those three have been the standouts, but Chris Thompson's been the MVP for me.
Okay, I think you matched with all of us.
I know we all said Chris Thompson. I can't remember what we said on defense.
Yeah, did anyone not say Zach Brown? No,
I definitely did.
Okay, it's kind of hard to say anybody else. I mean, you could say.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Norman and Bashad Breeland, they played well, but they've been hurt.
Sure.
Kendall Fuller would be the next man up. And you also say Jonathan Allen and Matt Ioannidis, but they've been hurt.
Yeah, they're both going to be out for a lot of time. Right?
Yeah.
I was going to say the Redskins medical staff maybe ought to be the MVP.
I don't know. I don't know.
Not the injury prevention side.
Yeah.
No, I think the not the prevention side, but the curing side.
Yeah.
They've had their insult.
Yeah.
Prevention side probably needs to be fired.
Well, I'll venture a bold prediction here and say that Zach Brown and Chris Thompson may just be our answers for the second half of the season as well. Don't see either one of them slowing down necessarily.
I actually would argue Chris Thompson maybe not, but Zach Brown definitely.
Yeah, that's fair.
You need to send me some games, man, on the road so I can be the lucky charm for the Skins, man. Look, when I tell you I had that was the best game I ever seen.
Oh yeah.
I've ever seen in person. It really was the best game I ever seen in person.
How was the stadium experience overall? Just because I always hear great things about it.
It was insane. Like people beforehand had said that the Seahawks, and this is it's funny because people have said that the Seahawks pump noise into the stadium, and it's fake noise. So when I was walking to the game with my cousin, I was like, man, I ain't worried about y'all. He was like, y'all, you hear that, right? Like, yeah, those some real fans right there. And I said, man, that noise is fake. I ain't paying attention to it. So I get into the stadium, and, like, the time when he said that to the time I got to the stadium was like 20 minutes later, and we was there in the first quarter. The noise was like, the fans are incredible. I ain't gonna lie to you. He said, "You still think it's fake noise?" I said, "Look, man, y'all are legit." Like they're from start to finish, man. So when they say it's a hostile territory, it really is. You gotta make your presence known.
Well, part of it is just the stadium construction, but I saw a U2 concert there several months ago, and the biggest complaint I had about that stadium was a frou-frou-y food. You know, what I really wanted was hot dog, burger, and they had a lot more of a bunch of other things, and a lot less of basic stadium food. That was my biggest complaint about that place.
I would agree, because they gave me, we accidentally stopped. I don't know why he did, but we accidentally stopped at this one concession stand so we can charge his phone so we could get the tickets for where we were headed, and we promised that we was going to buy something since we were using their charging station, and we bought this dry what was it, beef, shredded beef sandwich that had no sauce, no nothing on it, and some potato chips, like not even no fries. Like it was, for the most part, it's pretty disgusting, and I paid for it. And I forgot what he had. He had a little vegan choice, but it was
sounds like Seattle.
It was pretty.
Boo.
It sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I disagree with Steve on the just plain hot dogs thing, but if you're not eating meat, there's no point.
Yeah, I don't even remember. No, he had a pretzel. That's what it was. He had a pretzel.
Okay.
On it.
Pretzel's not
But,
terrible. That's classic stadium fare, but
it's acceptable.
well, we should move on to the actual game.
Yeah, let's give the people what they.
That's all right.
give the
If
people
you
what
get
they
me
want.
started on talking about stadium food, you know this show's gonna be ruined.
Yeah, I know. We've been down this road before, Alex.
We may be down that road right now, guys.
That's true.
Let's go ahead and jump back onto the rails. Do we have? I understand. See, we had some listener feedback this week, potentially some questions, some write-in questions.
Yeah,
These are geared towards the Minnesota matchup, I believe.
Yeah, we threw out there on Twitter. You know, any of you guys want us to address? We did a listener mailbag, if you will, and we got a couple good. We got a bunch of questions, but we'll just do a couple because we are on a time clock here today. So, first one I'm going to read to you guys is from Tyler, who is at TDakis. He says, "Does the Vikings offense scare you? If so, which player or players?" So, what do we think about Tyler's question? Does the Vikings offense scare us? Personally, I'm not sure it does. What do we think?
I think we definitely shouldn't be selling anybody short.
No.
They've announced officially Keenum as the starting quarterback, even though Bridgewater is back on the squad, I believe, healthy again now. That's a guy that's not necessarily going to make anybody shake in their cleats, so to speak, but that's kind of because he's always played on bad teams. He even played well on that Texans team that was so bad. And he's played well so far with Minnesota, even though it's sort of a small sample size. So scare us? I don't know. It just scares me more that we might underprepare for this.
I mean, the guy who scared me on the Vikings offense is Dalvin Cook, and he's not there anymore.
Right.
But the other guys have filled that void. So you might,
the other guy, and I guess we're sort of talking Vikings offense. You know, I think their primary weapon in the passing game has become Adam Thielen. You know, who's a heck of a story, incidentally. I mean, if you guys don't know his background, undrafted free agent from like Minnesota State, and all of a sudden he's one of the top running back or wide receivers in the game. You know, because let me tell you guys something. As long as we're talking Thielen, if you want a name of a player who scares us, it's got to be Thielen. Okay,
yeah.
600
is the big name that people around here obsess about because he's local. But
it's Thielen is the guy. I mean, 627 yards. Go ahead, Jamal.
Diggs is hurt. Is he hurt?
I have. No, he's not.
Yeah,
okay.
Didn't hear anything about that. No, go ahead with his stats, Steve, because I believe you were just about to say how high he ranks in like all of them.
Yeah, I was. 627 yards receiving, which is sixth in the NFL. He's had 75 targets already, which is fifth. 48 receptions, 13.1 yards per carry. So, I mean, that's a heck of a year. And they've played 8 games, so you're looking at about 100 catch season, between 12 and 1,300 yards, 13.1 yards per catch. I said per carry. That's a heck of a that is a heck of a year for a receiver, particularly considering his quarterback is Case Keenum. Which, as I realize, Sean, yes, he's played well at times, but at the end of the day, he's Case Keenum.
No, I agree. He's a really good, probably backup.
Yeah.
Realistically.
So there's the answer to your question, Tyler. If somebody has to scare you, it's considering who they've lost. That's the guy who ought to scare you is Adam Thielen. So that's question number.
I'm happy with that
answer.
Not
a bad one. No, but here's my thing. We do such a good job against good receivers, especially now that we're going to have Norman back. I'm not going to panic about a good receiver here or there.
Oh, I'm not panicking about it, but if we have to answer the question, that's the guy.
Yeah.
For me, maybe you guys are different. That's my answer.
Nope, I agree. And just honorable mention maybe to McKinnon and Murray, who were handling running back duties as well. It's not as great, but
job.
not doing a bad job.
Murray is funny because Latavius Murray's the guy who took over for Dalvin Cook, and he's only averaging 3.2 yards per attempt. But he's had good games, okay? Mm-hmm. He ran up 118 yards last week.
I was going to say, I think that's his first for Minnesota, but still, it's worth it.
Yeah, so he can run. He just has to have the right opportunity, and it hasn't been nearly as successful as Dalvin Cook. But you give him, put him in front of a bad rush defense, and the guy can actually run. So I think the stats are a little bit deceiving. Okay, here's the final one we're going to do for this. This is from @Tim Swinyard. SWIN yard. He says, we're against another strong defense. What's the key to a win? If we do win, are the playoffs realistic? I think we've covered the playoffs thing already, in our coverage. So the question really is, what is the key to a victory against the Vikings' strong defense? Thoughts?
Yeah. The first thing that jumps out at me is avoiding that pressure. It's Griffin on that end. That's gonna make it. Actually, do we know the status of him this week? I know he was kind of
I have an injury report. He did not practice today, we're recording this on Wednesday. He's got a foot problem. He did not practice today. We will see what happens on Thursday and Friday, but because Wednesday's the day that a lot of these vets sit out, for those of you who aren't aware.
I would say just avoid that, and you got to wake up your receiving core because it's too late in the season to ask your running backs to do much. I'm not expecting much, you gotta play well through the air, and you got to avoid that pressure.
Jamal, do you have a key?
It depends because I think we said it last week too, but it depends on what's going on with the offensive line. But what I will say is, we played them last year. And the difference between this year and oh yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. But the difference between this year and last year is the fact that last year we played a depleted Vikings team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We didn't really go against their best. And now the tides have kind of changed because I don't know the status of. We just talked about he didn't practice today, but when it comes to the game day, we're not going to know the status of Everson Griffin until then. But more than likely, we will be going up against a good, I would say, a healthy defense, and we're the depleted offense.
Yeah.
So the times kind of changed, and we get to see what they're really like against us. And that Vikings defense is the strong suit of that team. So the one thing I would say, or the keys for our offense, is simply, I do think, regardless of how many may feel about it, I do think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find ways to run the ball. I don't know specifically what attacks, what works well against this defense, but there is going to have to be a ground game. But at the same time, this isn't something where you're going to have to drop back and, I think about it, Xavier Rose is pretty damn good, but you don't have to always exploit the quick game. This is something where you can attack the ball, you can attack downfield. We still have weapons, still have Vernon Davis. Jordy Reed is practicing somewhat. You can use Vernon Davis up the seams. You can exploit that. You can exploit the middle of the field. You can also throw it to Josh Doctson. There's ways to get down the field, and I think if you attack down the field, it can help. But it will be an aggressive mindset offensively. At the same time, you do have to find ways to run the ball. So just try to be aggressive as much as you can, attack the secondary, and hopefully things work out. But I just don't know what the offensive line is going to look like. I would say you can run it more if we were fully healthy, but you do have to find some ways to be consistent, and especially run it well in short yardage situations.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you want my two things that stood out to me when I started looking at the Vikings? One,
Sure.
They don't allow a lot of yak. So if you throw it 2 yards short of the first down marker, you might not get that 2 yards you need for the first down.
And I swear that's something I've seen the Redskins do a time or two.
Yeah. Does that sound
Does
like
sound
something
so familiar.
that happens almost every time we throw the ball to Ryan Grant?
It happens almost every time we have a third down.
Yes. So, and that brings me to my second point, which I'll make very quickly, but by just saying, here's the third down percentage for the Vikings, because I noticed this when I was looking it up.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
28 out of 101 attempts. That's what opponents have gotten against the Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's
Back it up,
second.
boys.
That is second in the NFL. Now let's give you, dear list. So that's first of all, that's the listener question. So thank you very much to Tyler and Tim Swinyards. Thanks for that. We'll keep doing this maybe on other shows. In terms of the Vikings defense, just listen to some of these numbers. Third in points, third in total yards, first meaning the stingiest in yards per play, fifth in passing yards, second in rushing yards, third in rushing yards per attempt, third in red zone defense. 24 sacks on the year, which is eighth. Mm-hmm. So they have a lot of talent. But here's where I'm not going to be quite so negative. Now, last 4 games they've played the Browns, the Ravens, the Packers, and the Bears, and that's the Packers minus Aaron Rodgers,
right? Which is very different from the Packers with Aaron Rodgers,
right?
Oh yeah.
So if you look at this, Cleveland, not a juggernaut. The Ravens, Flacco didn't have a good game that game. They only scored 16 points.
The offense is as anemic as ours has been at its worst.
Yeah, it is. And then the Bears, the Bears have, struggles no matter who's the quarterback. So, the only really quality team they played was Pittsburgh.
Right.
So this is yes, they have gaudy numbers, but I think this is another one of these games where if the Redskins execute well, limit the mistakes, and stick to the game plan here, they can score on these guys. It's not going to be easy. Only one team all year has scored more than 20 points against the Vikings, and that's the Steelers. But again, if you look at the teams they've faced, none of these teams have offenses that are anything to write home about. Right. So there is an opportunity there.
Sure. Little intimidating. We felt better after hearing all of that, Steve, but we will persevere here.
I was trying to make it a sandwich. We'll get the negative out, then we'll have the positive.
The compliment sandwich kind of thing.
Yeah, and then and then the negative part to end it is, look, they're the best. Statistically, they're overall the best defense in football. Basically,
it's gonna be like last week. It's gonna be another defensive, game.
Yeah,
only
probably through to the end.
Statistically, this defense is better.
Well, gee, you just had to put that in there, didn't you?
Well, I told you it was a sandwich thing.
Yeah. No, I got you. This is a really tough squad. Like, I expect this to be another really low-scoring game. I don't know that we have enough gas in the tank to get it done this week. By the way, do we have an update on all of those injuries by any chance from last week on our side?
I do have that. It actually is looking a little better. This is from the Redskins injury report on Wednesday night. So let's go. That's a long list, but let's go through it quickly. The did not practices on Wednesday were Ioannidis, Arthur Jones, and Trent Williams. Limited were Crowder, Davis, Laval, Long, Moses, Nicholson, and Secchi, Paul, Quick, Reed, and Scherf. Take a breath. And then the guys who are injured but practice fully are Breland and Moreau. Now, the difference is we had a whole lot more DNPs last week. So a lot of those guys that didn't practice, particularly the O-line, Long and Scherf for practicing, and they didn't last week, on Wednesday. So they're making progress. And again, like you said it earlier, Reed is practicing. Niles Paul's in his concussion protocol. You'd have to think he'd probably get out of it by, the week 2 of that. So
unless they don't want him out of it,
Well, maybe, but I don't know why they would not want him out of it, But yeah, so anyway, that's injuries, and then for the Vikings, we hit the highlights. Griffin Everson Griffin has the foot injury. He didn't practice today. And then Teddy Bridgewater is practicing fully, but is going to be the backup this week.
By the way, I know we're facing him, but I do kind of root for Bridgewater to come back at some point. That injury he had, what was that, a year ago now?
Oh,
year and a half ago?
Yeah, he's been out a full year, yeah.
Where they were basically saying he might lose his leg.
You know who he had the same injury? This is the same injury that the tight end for the Bears has had.
Right.
The name is, help me, somebody with the name.
Oh, I don't remember who it was.
Miller.
Thank you. Yeah, Zach Miller.
Go.
Yeah, it's the same injury where he's got lots of nerve problems and blood flow problems, and this is the same exact injury.
A major artery getting messed up, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Teddy, too. I don't necessarily think Bridgewater's the greatest quarterback in the world.
No.
But,
Probably better
obviously.
than Keenum, though. I think I'd give him the edge. It's just that Keenum's hot right now and coming off a win streak.
I think you could probably be a better quarterback than Case Keenum if you tried hard.
You are so harsh, Steve, on both me and Keenum.
Well, I thought I was complimenting you. I'd say you're better than a professional quarterback. I don't know why you think you are.
No, definitely giving me his numbers, but I'm surprised almost to hear you give them because my impression was they weren't even that bad.
Yeah, no, actually, I thought
they're not that good. They're not that bad. They're not that good. I'm kind of being a little bit too harsh on him, but he's got about a 64% completion percentage, 88.8 quarterback rating, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's passed for 1,610 yards in 6 games started. So
those are all decent numbers. I don't know what you're knocking. 2-to-1 TD to interception ratio. That's fine.
I'm just watching Case Keenum in years past, knowing he can't keep it up for an entire season, particularly if you put a lot of pressure on him.
I agree. I think that's one of the keys to winning this thing is putting pressure on Keenum and trying to make him be the one who beats you. But, to me, he's a perfectly bottom half. Like, he probably should be starting on an NFL team somewhere because he's better than some of the other Drek out there.
I think he's loosely equivalent to Colt McCoy in terms of ability.
I think he's got a slightly stronger arm than Colt at this point, but that's more due to Colt's age and all that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Keenum. Yeah, I'm being a little too harsh on him, but he's not great.
No,
he's not the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't want him starting permanently, but there it is. You can evaluate for yourself.
He will not be the worst quarterback we face this year. I'll put it.
Now, one other thing about the Vikings offensive line, only 10 sacks surrendered all year, second in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Third down conversions, they're very good on third down, 42.7%, which is 6th. They're not so hot in the red zone, which is they're only 26th in the red zone. So
that's good news for us.
Now, the thing about the Vikings though is this is kind of like, pre-injury and then after injury. It's 2 different teams. You have to remember that when you're because these are all, accumulating stats that accumulate over the year, and it's a little deceiving with this team simply because they're so injured.
Well, but they're a team that it's kind of like, we've seen this before. Teams rely on really good defense. They have a so-so quarterback, and they just, they want to beat you 21-14. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. And that's what they're doing. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Hey, it's a tried and true method. We've seen it win many Super Bowls in our lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ravens did it. Yeah. The Giants did it.
Seahawks did it.
Fair enough. By the way, Kyle Rudolph. This is a potential weapon we haven't mentioned as well. Just thinking things that we haven't brought up yet in terms of their offense. It's kind of like
if the other team has a tight end, it's a potential weapon against the Redskins.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
So have them.
He's a damn good tight end, though.
One of the things I want to do when we get to the offseason is I'm actually going to try and figure out how can we just find one guy who can actually cover tight end in the draft. Like, I just want a guy and that's only going to be his job if we draft him.
Maybe that'll have to be Jamal's challenge. We're going to assign that to Jamal. Jamal, you have to find a linebacker who can cover tight ends.
All right. Well, what do you guys think?
I could cover a tight end. Shoot, it ain't nothing to me.
He's like, I'm ready to do it right now. I'm your guy. I found him. It's me.
They can sign me tonight. I'll be ready on Sunday.
You get out there and play.
This whole podcast is getting ready to suit up at this point.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Should we do predictions here for this week? Should we put our money where our mouth is?
Let's do it. Let's try it.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Should I? Should I go ahead and do it?
No, let's let the guy on the phone go first, so we can copy off him.
All right. I'll
Found out my strategy.
I'll go ahead and knock it out. I think the Skins will win. It'll be another defensive game in which we'll have to rely on the defense to keep us in it. Same time, the Vikings offense isn't really nothing to. I don't think it's anything to fear because their weapons are on the outside. I believe that Stephon Diggs and Thielen, along with Rudolph, are the guys that's going to be a big threat. But seeing as how our strength is the secondary currently in the pass rush, it's nothing really to. It kind of balances out, it evens out. So I think that the score will probably be close to 21-17, maybe 21-14. 20 points wins you the game, period. If you're the Redskins, 20 points wins you the game. So I think 21-14, 21-17 for the Redskins gets it done.
All right. For me, I actually think you're not far off. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was going to say 20 points for the Redskins because I don't think they're going to score a ton of points on this team. But it's at home, and I think the Redskins are the best defense they've faced in a while, meaning the Vikings have faced in a while. Mm-hmm. And we're improving, getting better. If you look at the numbers, we're sort of a league average defense right now across the board, which is a stark improvement over what they were last year, which is terrible in every way.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest, last couple of years.
Yeah, last couple of years. So I'm going to say 2017 Redskins.
All right.
Wow.
I'll go. I got a kind of bold prediction on this one. Uh-oh. I think it's going to be tight. I'm feeling good about it, though. I think the Redskins are going to win this one 21-20. We end the thing with Kai Forbath missing a 55-yarder.
Old friend Kai Forbath,
wishful
Vikings
thinking.
kicker.
Yeah,
and he's been playing very well.
By the way,
the
game goes down is they get the ball. Kai's got the ball at 50-something yards out. Can't quite make it. As we know,
I hope
Kai
that
can't.
doesn't come. I hope that doesn't come true because I don't want to have a heart attack. I'd rather just a solid victory formation. The end. I don't want Kai Forbath, to have the game
fate.
On his foot. No.
All right.
I like Kai, but no.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'll be honest. You guys remember I was a big Kai Forbath fan just because I love shouting Cobra Kai.
I think I write a column on this, either that or I did it on the show live. But Kai actually had one of the highest kicking percentages of any quarter. He had the highest percentage of any Redskins kicker ever.
Yeah,
but we wanted to set that record for most kickers in 24 years, so we had to let him go. I don't know, Alex. That sounds nice, but he has not been missing many this year, is my understanding. So we can
he's
hope.
Only 50% from 50 yards out.
Okay. Well, we can hope. We can certainly hope. I am going to say, because I predicted a loss at the beginning of the season before we had started playing, I'm going to stick with that. I think it's going to be a loss. I'm not trying to be a downer here. I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest. Both quarterbacks are going to be running, trying to escape pressure all night. I think there's definitely going to be turnovers. I think the Redskins defense can, in fact, at least get an interception here. But I think ultimately, the defense is not going to be able to bail out our offense this week, and it's gonna be all for naught. We're just not going to be able to get much going. So it'll be relatively low scoring, but I think we're going to get the loss. Let's call it 17-10 Vikings.
Oof. All right. He's got to be the Debbie Downer. Somebody had to be.
Somebody had to do it. Got to cover our bases.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay, well, we'll see who's right. Anything else, guys, you want to say wrapping up this one before we let people go?
Real quick. I always feel guilty if I don't look through the game release. Because for those who don't know, this is the package, people, glimpse behind the curtain, that all these neat little facts that you hear the TV announcers spout off for 3 hours, it comes from this.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's a lot more than a little show like ours really needs, but it's fun to flip through.
I've used it once or twice to win arguments on Twitter. How sad is that?
Yeah, it is. Because I don't want
great responsibility, Alex.
I don't want to win arguments on Twitter. Okay,
yes,
so
that's a lot.
Yeah, you're right. I always want to win arguments. You're right. Okay, but anyway, a couple facts. Ryan Kerrigan starting his 105th consecutive regular season game. I didn't realize it had gone on quite that long. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Terrell McClain has never had a sack in back-to-back games in his entire career. Yikes. Who knew? Now, this is what's more interesting to me, though. Listen to this. Opponents' average yards to go on second down in 2017, meaning how well do these teams do on first down defense? You know who's number one in the NFL? Take a guess.
And I'm going to go Washington just to be
Yeah. The Redskins have been the number one team in the NFL on first down defense, if you can believe that. Yeah, average yards to go on second down, 8.94. I mean, my God, who knew?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we gotta be somewhere near the bottom on second or third down.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
gotta make up for that somewhere.
Yeah, and the Redskins conveniently did not put that in this package.
Right.
Let's not highlight that. Sacks allowed since 2015. This just goes to show the quality of our offensive line over these past few years. They're actually sixth in the NFL with only 72 sacks allowed. Steelers, Oakland, Saints, Giants, and Cowboys are the only teams that have been better than them in that particular stat. And finally, because we don't brag on Jordan Reed enough, I don't think that I've ever said this on the air here, but he's already fourth on the receiving yards for tight ends in Redskins history after only 5 years, which is pretty incredible. Yeah. You guys, as a final trivia thing, anybody want to take a stab at who's number one? Redskins only.
In what receiving yards?
Receiving yards for tight end, not receivers. Just tight end.
In their career as a Redskin?
It's either Cooley.
Yeah, Cooley would be my guess.
Yeah.
Long time with it.
You're going to guess Cooley? Jamal, do you have a guess other than Chris Cooley?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, it turns out it's Jerry Smith.
Oh, of course.
Cooley is second, but Smith, who was with the Redskins 13 years,
Right.
5,496 yards, whereas Cooley only had 4,711 yards.
Smith, who
Jordan
should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Jerry? Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Reed has 2,813 yards in just 5 seasons, and it would be a lot more than that if he had stayed healthy in any sort of reasonable clip. So those are
there you go.
the random stats for today. Thank you, Redskins, as usual.
Yay, information.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this one up. Folks, keep sending in your questions. I love doing that. We're going to keep doing that. So if you got questions for us or any angle you want us to take on the show, send those in by email or on Twitter. We'll definitely get to them. Fun stuff. Until then, we will get this preview out in written form as well, so check back with us on thehogsty.com. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Amen.